This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, so we were discussing about so how do we do the things manually, and finally, I think we just came to a conclusion that how our architecture should look like, right? So, and this is what we have decided, right? Let me show you. So this is the architecture we decided. So we are going to have the application load balancer. You'll be having some auto scaling groups in between, and in between you are having, in auto scaling group you are going to have multiple servers. So public load balancer, one load balancer will be there. Internally, one load balancer will be there, and so in the back end, so some services or servers, whatever it is, we'll see. And finally, we are going to create all this infra with Terraform with the help of Azure DevOps as a pipeline. Okay, and then okay, so once after we set up the environment, so we are going to talk about so some monitoring. So we can start doing the monitoring, and based on the monitoring we'll understand so how each and every component is actually behaving. And at the same time, so we are going to pull the logs, every log of this, all these servers into one place, and we'll watch them, and we'll enhance our automation more with Ansible is what we talked about. Okay, so when coming to the tasks, basically this is a list of tasks we so this is a kind of a roadmap we decided. So it takes almost a month to complete all these things. Okay, so Terraform with servers installation with shell script. Okay, so that means first of all we should learn Terraform. Okay, then we'll learn Ansible, and then Terraform with Ansible, and Terraform with multiple environments. Okay, not only a single environment. So how do you design your multiple environments? And then yeah, we'll go with the CI/CD at the ending. All right, so this is the goal. So for this particular one, so ultimately we need to start with Terraform. So we're going to start with Terraform from today. All right, so yeah, so somewhere I think I should be having some little. Mm, yeah. So here we are going to, we're going to talk about Terraform. So Terraform falls under something called as infrastructure as a code. Now, so far you have created the server. So just by going with the UI, right? So UI, click on some UI, you get the server, or use Amazon CLI also. You have used Amazon CLI also, and you ran some shell scripts kind of thing. Okay, so or you're hitting the Amazon APIs and you're creating the server, right? So the same way, so like you're doing the Amazon CLI and the UI you used, and rather than that, you can also go within a programmatic way, and that you're provisioning an infrastructure as a code. Okay, so that's where it is called as IAC, infrastructure as a code. Okay, so why you use IAC basically, right? So why do we need IAC? So because today the world we are running on is immutable infrastructure, not mutable. Mutable means it can be modified. Okay, that means you create the infra today and you'll modify all the time. Okay, you never touch the infra. Okay, but actually what we are actually trying to achieve in today's world is we touch the infra, we delete the infra, we recreate the infra. So let's say previously if I want to deploy an application, okay, so if I want to deploy an application, I use some shell scripting to deploy the application, or I use configuration management tool to deploy the application. But now I'm not doing that. Okay, so I'll scrap the server, I'll whole server will be scrapped. Okay, we'll create a new server with the new configuration, okay, inside that. Okay, so that's the idea. So if you're having that way, then usually a lot of your problems will be avoided. Why? Because right from development you test it out everything in the, right from dev environment you test everything. In production, once it goes out there, so there won't be any kind of a problems. Okay, so yeah, so generally we are not preferring to touch the servers, I mean modify them things which were created. Okay, so that's where we're trying to achieve the immutable. So that's where we require this ISE. So it helps you in faster time to production releases. So think about that, so you are modifying the server, you have some problem, you have unidentified problem encountered, you don't know how much time it will take, so your production will be down. Rather than that, okay, you test everything and you're actually kind of shipping the whole piece of server from one place, I mean one environment to another environment, so it will definitely work out there. So mostly, okay, so yeah, and most usually the problems where usually you'll find out challenges you'll find out in the mutable infrastructure is while you're doing the modifications in mutable is okay, so sometimes you try to upgrade some packages. I mean also sometimes you breaks, so sometimes it breaks with certain library versions, something like that will be there. So you're trying to run some application which is dependent on GCC, like let's say is a compiler, okay, which is needed to run, and like let's say there is some older version, or inside that some library is there that is a older version. Okay, so okay, whatever it is, okay, you end up whatever it is, you end up okay with some kind of problems. Okay, so but whereas you test that particular server creation, the libraries and everything in the dev environment, okay, right from the scratch, then it will definitely work on the production as well. So that's the idea, and this idea is being copied from, not copied, basically it all started with containers. Okay, the idea of immutability started with containers. So containers, you will never modify the container, you will always recreate the containers. So probably you people, some of you not aware about the container technology, will go there, but we'll never modify the container. We'll always try to go with the recreation of the container if any changes are coming. So that's how the infra is also adopting the same approach. Okay, so to make the better production. Okay, now everything is tested in your local systems. Now releasing goes much faster, basically. Okay, releases goes much faster and stable as well. So that's the idea of ISE. And as I mentioned, so improved consistency, less configuration drift, right? So there's no lot of changes would come into picture. Okay, and it's most fast and efficient, or faster or more efficient development. So you do everything on the development side only, and in the production also it ensures it works, basically. So that kind of way, and also it helps you in lower the cost. Why? Because operating cost is always higher. Okay, operating cost is always going to be higher. Okay, so that's where okay, if you are actually having if you're actually finding out the issues in development itself, so I mean, yeah, basically your whole operation, whole cost actually goes to in lower as well. So operation cost is always higher than the development cost. Okay, so that's generally known thing. So that's how we are going to need ISE, basically, right? And the next thing here is so Terraform is a tool. Okay, so we'll do that. So now it was a kind of a monopoly. So at least from past 1 year, there's another one coming into picture. So like people are talking about this, but I have not seen potentially people using it in any kind of a real production environment. At least I have not seen it. I'm not saying that people are not using it. So some people are using. See, at least Mercedes-Benz is using as a company in their IT. Tableau is using. Snowflake is also an IT company doing that. Okay, so yeah, yeah, people are there, but at least I have not seen, as I mentioned. So yeah, so probably there is alternative now. So earlier there was no alternative. It was kind of a monopoly. Now there are certain alternatives coming into picture, but still it leads lot of major market. Okay, so that's where we are going with Terraform. Okay, so now Terraform offers different approaches basically. So um, different approaches of how do you deal with Terraform. So you deal with Terraform by writing some JSON code. It offers, it can allow you to write some JSON code. You write JSON code. Okay, so you write JSON code and Terraform can take that input. Or else you have HCL. Okay, HashiCorp configuration language. They provide their own language, so we can use that. Or in Kubernetes, there is a concept called as CRDS. With the help of that, also you can create the resources. Okay, or else you already seen some CLI. CLI also. Okay, I'm talking about Terraform. Right? Sorry. So we talked about yeah. So the another one which you have is CDK. Okay, so CDK it can be written into two development languages again. Okay, it's a development kit. Okay, and TypeScript you have and Python. This was a recent, I think 5-6 months back only, they announced this particular option. Okay, so you can go with the CDK and yeah, either you write in TypeScript or you write in Python. Okay, also Terraform can take that particular output. I mean, take that input and do the things. Now Terraform, you can give it in the inputs what it need to create in so many approaches. But what we are actually going to do is HCL. So Terraform offers their own language, and we'll be going with the HCL. Okay, HashiCorp configuration language. We go with HCL. Okay, yeah. And Terraform is going to deal with a lot many components in the backend. Okay, it deals with it deals with VMware or any cloud, anything. Okay, so it can deal with. Okay, you give the input, Terraform will deal with those things. And in Terraform language, we call it as a lot of providers. Okay, you have 200 plus providers. You see this? So a lot of providers are there available with Terraform. So that's where Terraform can be integratable with any kind of Terraform can be integratable with any kind of tool. Most of the tools which are there out there, it can be integratable. So that's the beauty of Terraform majorly. Okay, fine. So we go with HCL. So there are two versions of HCL. You forget about V1, it's already 2 years outdated. So forget about that. So Terraform until Terraform 0.11 version. Okay, so you had V1. So that's almost been 2 years, at least this December 2018 December. I think V2 has been released already, and people are now using V2. It's almost V2 now. Okay, so current version is HCL. They only provide a version 2. All right. So from Terraform 0.12 version, so you'll be using V2 until 11 version, we'll be using V1. All right. So okay, what we're going to talk about is the latest version of Terraform, and that is 0.14. When I made this slide, it was 0.12 only. Now it is actually 0.14. 14 also recently came in. You go to the editions, or let me go with download CLI. I can show you that. So what is the version is 0.14.3. Okay, 0.14 is the major version. 0.14.3 is the latest version. And so you can also download the all versions from here. So you have 0.14 is the latest version. So all right, and yeah, so we'll be going with the Terraform 0.14 version. But how HCL look like? Okay, how HCL look alike? All right, so this is because this is because this is because not because basically, sorry, I'm something doing something. The HCL is a code, right? So basically, how does it look like? This look like a block, basically, a block of code. Okay, so you'll be having braces, closing braces. Okay, so closing braces. Okay, you will open the braces, close the braces, and things like that. And so the example you see is a resource block. Like everything is a block in Terraform. Okay, it can be a resource block, it can be a provider block, it can be a variable block. Everything is a block in Terraform. Okay, in HCL. Okay, that's what you need to understand. Okay, you will be end of the day. So what you ask Terraform is to do some resources. What you ask in Terraform is to do, okay, to create something, right? That's a resource. That's a resource. Okay, and so these resources comes from some provider. These resources come from some provider. So we call it as provider. Okay, so Terraform has a lot of providers. AWS is one of them. Just AWS is one of them. Okay, so now if you just try to understand the hierarchy, how your Terraform code looks like, you'll be writing the resources. You'll be writing a lot of resources, and these resources belongs to certain providers. Okay, certain provider configuration also you need to provide. Sometimes you don't need it. Okay, sometimes you need to provide that. Okay, and the next thing is you have some blocks, like, you know, so generally, like any programming languages, you will be having some any scripting languages, you'll be having some conditions, you'll be having some variables, you'll be having some function, right? So those things also will be there in Terraform as well, but in a little different way, because that's their own language. They come up with their own approach. It's not like any other scripting language, like, okay, so it has its own formats. You need to understand that, basically, right? So now the next thing is here is Terraform files. You're going to write the Terraform in an editor. Okay, so, and how do you write the files? Basically, if it's a text file .txt, if it is a shell script file, you're putting .sh. So Terraform also expect the files should be in .tf format. For Linux operating system, it doesn't really matter what you keep it, but Terraform as a tool, it looks for the files which are ending with .tf or .tf.json. Anyhow, we're not actually dealing with JSON files, so we just go with .tf. So that's where .tf will come into picture. So all your files has to create with .tf. Okay, so we keep multiple files, basically. So files will be loaded in Terraform in alphabetical order, but it compiles the list and make its own order, basically. So like, let's say you have written so 20 resources in 5 different files. Okay, 5 different files. One file you keep 6, one file you keep only 3 resources. Like that, you don't have to keep everything in one file. First thing, okay, it's not a good practice, basically. Okay, you don't need to really keep it in everything in one file. Okay, Terraform can do the job, but you as a human being, okay, cannot manage that, basically. So that becomes complexity. You need to avoid the complexity. So come to small files. So start using small files for small requirements. So that's the best idea. Okay, so use small files, and even we can also, like, let's say 20 resources also. Those 20 resources also you run Terraform, basically, then those 20 resources will be created in single shot. So sometimes people keep, like, 100 resources, 200 resources, 300 resources in a single, even though they create multiple files, but the creation wise, actually they'll go with the a single, so single, what we call single code kind of thing. Okay, so that's also a bad idea. We'll talk about that later. But for now, just keep in mind that, so you always try to make some small files which is more meaningful for you. Like, let's say you're dealing with EC2, right? Like EC2.tf. You're creating some load balancer, like, load balancer.tf. You're having some kind of probably you're dealing with some security group.tf. So that makes some meaning. Okay, so probably security groups also you are writing for 2 requirements: security group hyphen my database.tf, security group hyphen my, so my like let's say frontend.tf, something like that. Even you can cut it into pieces. So organizing your code is much easier for you. That's the only reason. So try to make multiple files, okay? And it's up to you, but still, yeah, if you follow the best practices, it's a most of the people approach to that. And so like let's say, as you know, so you had, you know, as I mentioned, there are 20 resources created in, you know, 5 different files. But yeah, so how the loading will happen? So it loads the files in an alphabetical order, that's fine, but actually it comes with an order. So like let's say file a.tf, b.tf, c.tf, 3 files are there. Now Terraform loads a.tf, b.tf, c.tf, then it comes with its own order of creating the resources. It don't go with a.tf, then b.tf, not c.tf. No. While loading itself only, it will just loads in an order. That's it. After loading it, it compiles it's an order. It compiles one order, okay, and it compiles some dependency, and then it's going to perform and apply. Okay, so that's how it's actually going to. So that's how it actually going to work basically. Okay, and execution order will be smartly picked by Terraform only. Okay, also gives the flexibility to write your own dependencies. So sometimes I need to mark some dependencies. So sometimes there won't be any relations, but I want to mark some dependency. Okay, so like let's say I'm making a front end catalog and MongoDB, right? So resource front end, resource catalog, resource database, and there is absolutely no relation between these 3, right? So front end is a different microservice component. You can create the infra for that. Catalog is a separate microservice. You can create the component for that, and database is a Mongo is a different one. Absolutely, for Terraform, there is no point in relation. There's no point in relation. But for you, for your business logic, okay, so without a database, you create a catalog, it will fail, right? Without a catalog, if you create a front end also, it will fail, right? So the order will be first database and then catalog and then front end, so that the things will work as expected. So that's where you have to mark some dependency between those 3 things, and that can be done by additionally some depends on. You'll see that practically later, but still this is how it is going to be done. So sometimes there won't be any necessary relations, but yeah, so but you can start making your relations. So that's where it is. And the next thing is Terraform command basically. So Terraform command, Terraform ecosystem comprises of generally like, you know, Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply, Terraform destroy. So these are the, you know, widely used options for resources. And 1 second. Yeah, sorry. And the Terraform ecosystem goes with, you know, init, plan, apply, and destroy, as I mentioned. So destroy is optional unless you want to destroy the resources. So Terraform supports, you know, the resource creation, whatever the resources are created, okay, can be destroyed also, but usually like think in real-time scenario, so we don't require a destroy option generally, usually. But sometimes destroy is also needed. Like I'm talking about mutability, right? So that means sometimes I need to destroy the resources as well, but not everything again. Okay, but destroy is also supported by Terraform. And so you will be having these 4 very common used ecosystem options. And init is the phase where you download all the required. Terraform is a single binary, but it will not have all the providers information. So what Terraform does is when you do Terraform init, it downloads the appropriate, it will find out all the resources whatever you have, and then it will find out, okay, so it will find out so what all the plugins it's supposed to download, what all the providers were there, what all the resources used, and which provider it belonged to, and it will just download those files. I can show you something from my previous batch basically. This is okay. So something like this, I can just show you here. Yeah, you put the network, see the Terraform apply. So, but firstly, in the very initial init phase, what it is actually going to do is finding the provider plugins. So finding the latest version of AWS, okay, and it is downloading the AWS. So only AWS resources are there. That's why it is actually doing that. So sometimes you will be having more resources also. I can show you that somewhere here. Apply. So sometimes you will be having, you see this, so terraform.io, and here it is actually, here also it is actually using the same one. Let me go to databases. So for database, there is another one also I'm using, so which is null. So that's where it is using null also, and as well as AWS also. Two providers it is using. Two providers it is using. So like that. So what all the providers you are using, based on that, it is actually going to um, um, based on that, it is going to download, okay, what all you have. Based on that, it will download those particular plugins. So that's what the init phase is actually going to do. All right, and the next one is plan. So plan phase will show you, before executing, you want to cross check that, what are going to get, what all the things which are going to get created or modified, something like that. You need a list of things. So based on the list, you will think about whether you want to proceed or you don't want to proceed. Then plan is an option. Okay, and finally you have some apply. It will actually create the resources and destroys the one which will delete the created resources. Okay, that's the idea of Terraform. Okay, and yeah, so we can start doing Terraform coding basically. Okay, any questions on this so far?
Hi, Raghu, good morning.
Yeah.
Actually, you told we are going to achieve mutable infrastructure. There we are going to use achieve only infrastructure, or application development also we are going to use achieve mutable. Because in development case, anyhow, we have always patchings will be required. That is the one question. And in Terraform, what is the relation between JSON and Terraform? Because you mentioned for the extension of file there is a tf.json. Is it any relation between those Terraform as well as JSON? This is two questions.
Yeah. So I mean, immutability and mutability, I'm talking about infrastructure, not the development. Development always changes, right? So I mean, like let's say developer is giving a patch. Now instead of applying the patch on the server, you destroy the server which is already running, and you create a new server which is with a patched version. That is
Okay.
what I'm talking about. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing, so which you asked is, so basically, what is the relation between this JSON and Terraform, right? So JSON is a generic, JSON is a generic, what we call markup language. So Terraform also supports whoever actually can provide the input. So HCL means you have to learn HCL. But let's say you're a developer already, you know JSON, so you know to learn the HCL part. So you can directly write it in, so JSON format. You give the input in the JSON format. And what you have JSON? You'll be having keys and values. And if I go and show my resource previously, so you have given like key equal to value you are giving in a HCL format. Now you'll give it in a JSON format. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Here you go. In the slide where you described the not the plan, not the, I think the one after this where there was the order of things. Yeah, here. The second bullet where we say files can be loaded in Terraform in alphabetical order, but it compiles the list and makes its own order. How is that? Do we need the dependencies before?
Let me tell you in a way. Basically, so so probably, like, let's say, let me put in a very stupid example, but just let me give some meaning in that. So probably, so like, let's say, I mean, I hope you entered into any kind of a ATM deposit machine. I am hoping, right? So you keep the, so I mean, you give the multiple files in whatever the order, basically, right? So you might have given, so basically, so hundreds in, hundreds first, and I mean hundreds in top, like let's say 50s on top of, and 500s even behind, something like that. Okay, so you kept in your own order out there. Okay, so like let's say you kept in a numerical order, like first 500s, and on top of that hundreds, and after that 50s is a currency notes you have kept in the ATM deposit machine. But actually deposit machine actually takes those things and compiles in its own order, basically, whether it go with 50 or whether it go with hundreds first, or it might go with 500s first, whatever it is, but it goes in its own order. Okay, and starts, it goes in own order and actually calculate the things, right? You just understood the difference. Now it loads it in an order, but like let's say 500. Okay, might be to ask you, okay, you're depositing, so enter 500 first, enter, okay, and then enter 100 first, or you already entered everything out there. It can just take everything, whatever it is there. Okay, then it starts, basically the calculation will be in its own order, right? So something a little bit relation to that, might be not exactly, but still understand that. So you have three files, you have a.tf, b.tf, 3.tf. I'll just load them. Load is not really creating anything. It just loads into the program. Okay, loading into the program. Then it actually looks into, okay, I got this input, then what I need to do. So then it start compiling the things. Okay, then it will come with its own order. Okay, that's how it does. Make sense?
Yeah. I guess the only last part is that if we have given the depends underscore on option,
yeah,
then it will do it in that order, compilation,
yeah,
or okay.
Yeah. If you mention a relation, then it will go in the order. That's it. And also, if you see the Terraform output, so basically what it does, it just creates a resource by resource. If you see this, so there are a lot of resources out there. So there are a lot of resources out there. It's just going one by one. It's creating security group. It is creating DB subnet group. Then it is creating the. Then it is trying to create the instance, basically. So somewhere DB instance. So this is getting created, and for this actually, there are some dependencies. So this is a DB subnet group, and security group MySQL. These are two of the dependencies for this one. So that's where it is actually creating those first, and actually instance of so DB instance is coming later. So it already made that particular order for you. It's even though you give this first, or let me show you the code. The code might be having the DB instance as the first order. If you see this, let me show you. So like let's say you go with the mysql.tf. So here the first one you asked is here is a resource create the default, and then you have something called as a DB subnet group, and then you created a okay, allow MySQL security group, but it is not creating in that order. So there is some dependency marked actually. Okay, so it understand your code. So here you are telling that I want to create a DB instance with the security group ID. So this is the security group, this is the security group. So that's the reason it's actually going and creating the security group. And there's a DB subnet group. You're specifying this particular resource, pointing to this resource, collect the information from this resource. That means in order to collect the information, it has to create this resource first. So that's where it actually marked its own order and it made it. So sometimes you cannot actually you cannot actually use it, but at the same time, like I mentioned, right? So sometimes the business layer come into picture. Okay, some functional layer come into picture. That is telling me that, okay, so create first MongoDB, then only you go with catalog. Okay, that I'm making my own order. And if I want to tell to the Terraform, then you mark it as a dependency. So depends on, yeah, then it will, okay, it will complete one and it will go to the next one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Funny, you're saying something?
Yeah, Raghu, so here you said it can come from input can from JSON or HCL or Kubernetes or CDK Kubernetes. So
Yeah.
as you said earlier, so are we learning Kubernetes here also? Is that useful here with Terraform?
No, that's a very common screenshot from Terraform page. I just copied. Okay, so you can give. You just need to understand. You can give an input to the Terraform in multiple ways. So which we are
Okay.
using. Yeah.
So are we learning Kubernetes, Raghu, so here?
So in the course, Kubernetes is not there, but not Kubernetes dealing with Terraform.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So this is a pure programming. Okay, so this is pure Golang programming language. Okay, you forget about this, but just this is a common screenshot. I just got it from Terraform webpage only. So
Yeah.
yeah, they
So
provide
actually,
this.
DevOps also people are looking for Kubernetes also. So maybe it's for completely for developers, it seems, right?
Kubernetes development is there. Kubernetes
Infra.
platform is there. So DevOps people uses platform, but Kubernetes is a program. It's developed using a programming language, right? It's a
Yeah, yeah. When
Golang.
you show in roadmap.sh, so there was a Kubernetes also important thing which we have to learn as a DevOps guy.
You're not understanding basically. So okay, so like let's say, let me put you this. If you say Linux developer is there, Linux user is there. Who are you now?
I'm a
You're
user.
you are a user, right? You're not a
Yeah, yeah.
developer.
Yes,
So that
yes.
means Linux operating system was made using some, okay, you take Windows operating system, you know, if you say you know Windows, what you know? As a user or a developer?
I'm using Windows so that I'm a
You're
user.
user, you're not a
Yeah,
developer, right? The
correct, correct.
developer is use some programming language to develop it.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
So the same way, the Kubernetes is also has a platform. You're a user. So whatever the roadmap.sh is telling is a user, not the developer. Okay. So developer, they write it in the Golang. That's a pure developing, that's a developer role. It's not your
Okay,
role.
okay. Okay, yeah. Thanks for understanding. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone, any other questions? Okay. All right. So probably we can just go with this AMI is not needed. So you delete your AMIs if you are not using, and also after deregistering the AMI, you have to go to the snapshots and clean those snapshots as well. So because these are billing, okay. So just try to make your account minimal as much as possible. Let's go to the workstation. In this workstation, I'm going to install Terraform. We'll run Terraform here. Okay, and also another thing is I'll go with github.com/ and the other one now I'm going to use is repositories. I'll create a new repository and I'll say it as a Terraform. Just I'll add readme file. It's going to be a public one. So create repository. Okay. Just give me 1 second. I need to go. Don't worry about this. All right. So let me clone that in my system. And I can open that in my IntelliJ. So you follow your own method, whatever you are using, whether you are using so CLI or you are using directly the git clone from whether you are using git clone from so IntelliJ, whatever it is, your choice. Okay, so yeah. All right, so okay, so here is the Terraform one. Basically, I'll start writing Terraform here. So first thing first, like in the shell scripting, however we went with, so we'll go with so printing something on the screen. So printing, right? So printing in shell. So here you call it as outputs. Okay, so output. Printing in shell script is called as output in okay, so output in Terraform. Just for your comparison. Okay, what is the next one is so what is the next one we talked about? We talked about variables, right? So we talked about variables. So here also we'll call it as variable only. No issue. Same variable and variable, both are same in shell script. I'm just comparing because you know already shell scripting, so we're just trying to talk about the same thing. And what else we have? So there you have so there you have user functions. So that means user functions. You write your functions, but here this is inbuilt functions will come. Inbuilt functions will come. Okay, so sorry, inbuilt functions will come. Okay, so you cannot create your own. You cannot create your own here. So that, I mean, there you can create your function and you can put your code out there and things like that. Okay, so probably you cannot actually so call it as a function there. So what we can call there is or let me put you this way, so user function, right? So here you call it as a module. Here you call it as a module. So in function, what you do, group of commands, right? Group of commands. Basically you group the commands, and here you group the resources. Okay, so in shell you are going to use some commands basically, right? So to perform something, use a command. So here you call it as a resource to perform something. Okay, so to perform something, use use a command in shell basically, and use a resource here. What else I can compare? Basically, you have conditions. Okay, you have conditions. Okay, so you have here also condition. You have, and you have a loop there to iterate the same thing. Here also you have a loop, but you call it as a count. Okay, so here you call it as count here. Okay, you also have some count. What else? Condition you have, and loop you have, but condition is only to condition here. It's only to decide to run a resource or to create a resource or not. To create a resource or not. It's not like a block of condition whatever you have seen in shell, but it's more little simple only. So just to decide whether to run a resource or you don't need to run the resource, you go with that. That's it. And yeah, so mostly what else we have? Yeah, I think that's all, right? So loops, conditions, functions, majorly variables, and printing. That's it. And additional to this, you're going to get okay, so additionally you're going to get in Terraform a little bit more. Basically you have something called as provisioners. Okay, so that's additional in Terraform. Basically additional in Terraform are these. Okay, so provisioners, you're having the terminology wise. Okay, provisioners. And let's read the Terraform documentation. Docs. Yeah, so here you have something called as data sources. Other than that, I don't think so anything you have here. Okay, so these are the things which you are going to have in Terraform. So we just learn shell scripting the same way. We know something and we learn this one, okay, comparing with something which you already know. That's the idea basically. Okay, so that's the easy way of learning basically. If you know something and you relate while you're learning, when you relate to the known thing, it is easier for you to learn. Okay, so that's my way of basically learning. I'm not sure for everyone it works or not, but still, yeah. So that's my way. Okay, so now let's start with okay, a simple output basically. Okay, let's start with simple output. And so, but here you're having a data types. You are having data types. It's not like shell scripting. No data types in shell scripting. So here you have data types. Data types are mandatory here. Data types are mandatory. Okay, so that's quite important thing you need to understand. All right, so let's go and try to talk about these things. All right, any questions on this so far before proceeding?
So, Raghu, Terraform provides any development studio like that?
IntelliJ, you can use that. Yeah. I'm just trying to clone this. Okay, all right. So now I need to install Terraform. So how do you install Terraform is quite simple. You just download the zip file, you get the binary. So here you go to the Terraform, there is this download Terraform, and you have to choose your operating system. It supports even Windows also, you can use that. There is this Windows also it supports, but I'm just going to go with Linux. So Linux is also, mine is a 64-bit. So I'll be just using this copy link address. And so I'll just do call -l. Call -l. Actually, I had to give capital O. So save it, right, rather than printing on the output screen. Yeah. So ls and unzip the file to this Terraform. Okay. So now it actually extracts the Terraform binary. So /Terraform and -f or just give version is fine. Version, it gives you 0.14.13. But I cannot go and give the /Terraform every time. So what I'll do is I don't want this zip file anymore. ls. So now this Terraform, I want to run it as a command. So where all the commands come from, /bin. Okay, is one of the path. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just move this particular one. So move Terraform to /bin. As a normal user, I should not be able to. So that's where I can take the help of sudo. So sudo move Terraform to /bin. Now you can execute Terraform as a command. Okay, so Terraform version, as simple as that. Okay, so yeah. And the next thing is first thing is 0, 1 outputs. Okay, and here like let's say a.tf, okay, or sample.tf. Okay, while you put the tf, automatically IntelliJ will identify so that you're writing Terraform and install the plugin. Okay, so IntelliJ is the only editor which supports Terraform completely. Okay, no other editors are there. So that's where it makes your life really easy in IntelliJ. If you use any other editor, you don't have, I mean, you don't get the auto filling of the code basically completely end to end. Okay, I would say. So now that's the reason I'll just go with, I'm writing the output block, automatically it will tell me so what you're writing, right? So you just see this new resource, I will say. So what kind of resource, or when you're actually making, I'm just pressing Control N or Command N here. Okay, so command, these are the different things which you have. New means these are the different things. All right, so which one you want to make it, or else you can start typing also, you will make it. Okay, output, and you just automatically hit enter, it fills the minimum block, and you go and fill your values. The minimum block I want to say that is so a and print 100. Okay, so then what is going to output you are going to get is a equal to 100. Echo a equal to 100 is nothing but here output the a you are giving and value equal to 100. Okay, so that's what happened. Now you can just go and give git space pull. What are the phases? Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform, okay, apply. So apply is asking yes or no. Yes. So now you're getting output equal to 100. All right, so that's what you're going to do. So whatever you want to print, you can print it. Okay, but as I mentioned, so you have some data types. Okay, so what are the data types you have? So it's simple, three things. So three data types you have. So the first one is string. String should be in quotes. And the second one is numbers. And the third one is number, and the third one is second one is numbers, and the third one is what we call the third one is booleans. Booleans means true or false. So no quotes needed, no quotes for this, and also no quotes. And even numbers are floating values also. Float values is nothing but 0.1, point after something you're having, whatever you have. So that thing you don't need to do. So that's where this 100 doesn't really require any kind of quote basically. Okay, and output. Okay, so b is equal to like, let's say hello. Now I have to give it in quote, and output c, you just give true. Okay, so you get you get three outputs now. So one is a number. Now I'll just go for git space pull and Terraform apply directly, because init and plan is not really needed, because init you are not creating any resources to do the init. So I'll just pull and run it. Okay, so do you want to apply? Yes, it is telling me a equal to 100, b equal to hello, and c equal to true. All right, so this is how you're going to have what we call the data types. Any questions?
Only we'll run this init apply only one time.
No, init is, see, apply when you run, you want to create some resources, you add some code and you want to init. So you want to apply, then you run apply. But you add a new resource, that's a new kind of a new provider, then you require Terraform init also. Yeah, so technically the phase is init and then apply. Okay, so if init is already observing that there are no additional providers you are using, it will just say that nothing to do. It's say that so all done basically. Yeah, otherwise it will just go and download that. So technically if you run init first, then yeah, you will not find any errors first of all. Okay, so then always apply. Plan to check what it is trying to do in between. Yeah, if you want.
That means whenever new file is added, we have to run the init. Huh?
No, init. See, you look into the echo cycle, always go with the init. But again, you can take a so conscious decision that whether you want to go with it or you don't want to go with it. When to go is if you add a new resource that comes from a new provider. Okay, then you have to go with the init. Otherwise, you don't need to do that. Okay. Now let's say if I just go and give, like, let's say I just give resource null underscore resource and just give ABC. I'm not doing anything. Now I'll just push this code. Now I'll just go with the Terraform apply. The Terraform doesn't know about this resource. Okay, it will throw you an error saying that okay, reinitialization is required. Okay, but now if I do one-time Terraform init, if I'm not adding any more resources, which is I'm not adding any resources which belongs to any another provider, then you don't need to init it again, basically. Yeah. So that's a conscious decision you can take it, but just take it in a very plain format. Always init and then apply. Yeah.
Okay.
So means if within Amazon, within AWS first, we did EC2 and then I compiled it within it and applied, and then later on I added VPC. I don't need to do init again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right. Now the next thing is there are 3 variable types. Now you are looking into the data types. Okay, variables we didn't talk about. Yeah, forget it. Now the next thing is variables. Okay, so the next one is what we say variable. So you want to variable and just say give a, and you want to put the value inside that. Default is equal to and 100. Okay, so yeah, so you just declare the variable, this one. So this is how you declare the variable. And how do you access the variable in in Terraform is, so like let's say I can go with the output, like let's say a, and you just say that var dot a. Okay, var dot a, that's it. All right, so now I'll just go to this secret space full and ls. So cd02 Terraform init and Terraform apply. So apply always asks for yes or no. If you just want to avoid that yes or no, you can always give -auto -approve also. Okay, so that means it will not ask for yes or no. All right, so you have a equal to 100, it is coming, so you have given that, right? Now these variables are of 3 types in general. Okay, so these variables are 3 types. Okay, so first thing is First thing is variable. So variable, and then what we call yeah. So variable, like let me put this way, variable normal variable, you already declared that, so that's where you just go with the default is equal to 10. Okay, you're done. So the next one is variable list. Okay, list is something, I mean this name can be anything, so I'm just giving a list is nothing but default is equal to, you're going to write multiple values, so 100 comma. Okay, so ABC. So, and then also you can give true. So now what I want to tell you here is, okay, in one list variable, okay, so you can give multiple values, which is of different data types. This is quite important. You can give a different data types also. Okay, so not only the same data type. Certain programming languages generally, okay, so they allow only the same data type, but actually Terraform allows multiple data types also. You put a number, you put a string, you put a boolean, you can still work. But how do you access that particular variable? Now output, okay, output list underscore one. The first value inside the list is var dot list, right? List of 0. The index starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. So list starts with 0. Okay, so now I can access this. So now the same way, list 2, I'll make it list 2, and I can go with 1, and list 3. So I can go with the list 1. Git space pull and Terraform apply -auto -auto. Now you see this list 1 first value, list 2 second value. So even in when you write your code, you have a list of values. You want to pick one by one value, you can pick this basically. Okay, so this is how you are going to do that. So this is a list basically, data type, variable type list. Variable default. Yeah.
How can we print all variables in one output?
You just give var.list, right? That's it. It will print all output. Like let's say list I want to give, whole list, var.list. That's it. It prints all.
Okay. No, for individuals, for example, you have declared A, B. So those also we can be in one output, we can access, right? Both, for example, there you mentioned normal for 10, A for 100.
Mm-hmm.
Those two I need to print it in one output variable.
Yeah, you want to concatenate. So the actual word you should use is concatenate. That means combine and print it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, I can show you. So here git space pull. For now, we'll see this. So now you can see the list is coming in all values. That's fine. Now you're asking for an operation of concatenation, right? So concatenate. Even I actually want to talk this, but in another way, not concatenate. So yeah, as you asked, like let's say, so let me talk about first another variable type, then I can get in there. So here the next one is variable. The next one is variable type, which is map. Okay, map is nothing but you're going to have keys and values again. So let me show you this variable. Like let's say variable is map, I would say, and now default is equal to so I want to say that this one, like let's say course underscore name is equal to, okay, DevOps, something like that. I think you know to give this course also on the left side. You can give this. Okay, this works. And the next one is a comma. If you want to give another one, like let's say and course underscore name, and I will go with something like, you know, so like let's say final is equal to some Raju, something like that. Okay, I have given this. So now I want to so now I want to print a very big string line. So now how do I do this? Okay, or first of all I want to show you, like, you know, so like let's say I want to go with the output. I want to print, you know, so course underscore name is what is the course name? So var dot map of what value you have to pick. Previously you're giving numbers, indices, okay, indexes, and now you have to give the keywords. So it has to go as a double quotes. Inside that it has to go this. Okay, so this is how you do that. Okay, let me show you this. Okay, so course name is DevOps you're getting. Now let's say, okay, I want to show you something. So variables if we are combining with other strings, then variables, if you are combining with other strings, then those should be given in, then those should be given in quotes. Okay, but how do you do that? So now, like let's say output. Okay, so like let's say course. Okay, I'm just giving this. Now here I would say welcome to $var dot, what is the variable? Map of what is the value? The value is course underscore name. Okay, so course underscore name. So welcome to DevOps training, and trainer is welcome to, okay, I need to end the flower base, sorry. Yeah, so welcome to DevOps training, and trainer is again so $var dot map of what is that? Trainer. Okay, now you see this, you're actually putting the variables in the combination of other strings, then those strings should be in quotes, in the quotes. Okay, if you want to give it, yeah, still same. Actually, you know, to really change something from the variable side, you can still in the quotes also you can access it. So the only thing you need to keep in mind is, so only thing is okay, Terraform does not support single quotes anywhere. It's all double quotes only. Just this is a thumb rule you need to keep in mind. Okay, now you can do this. All right, so now I will go and put on run it. So now you can see this, welcome to DevOps training, and finally, so hope this also answers your question, Sanjeev.
Yeah, Raghu. Oh, thank you.
Any questions on this? Any questions, confusions? All right. So that's about some variables. And what next? So the data types we talked about, and variable types also we talked about. And so yeah, so the next thing is we need to start making some resources. So if you make some resources, then probably we can talk about module or anything. Basically, this has to be first. Okay, so yeah, I need to talk about some resources. So we need to start creating some resources. Okay, so yeah, that's it basically. Just thinking. No, variables actually you can give inputs from different places basically. Okay, so you can just go for variable inputs, or you just take it as inputs, a separate section. You cannot hard code the things like what you have done so far, right? You cannot actually hard code the things. Actually should be you should be taking the inputs from somewhere. Okay, how do you take the inputs? Okay. How do you do that? Now inputs should be loaded in variables. Even in shell also it is same, right? Inputs also it's coming into a variable only. Like you give an input or the command line, so that means $1 is a variable. Okay, $2 is a variable, like that. It comes into the variable only. No doubt in that, it's a variable. Okay, first thing. And input should be loaded in variables, so that's the first thing. And that's where, so that's why, okay, so that's why we need to declare a variable first. Declare a variable, declare a empty variable in Terraform. This is a Terraform approach. This is a Terraform approach basically. Okay, this is a Terraform approach. In the Terraform approach, what you're actually trying to do here is you will try to declare a empty variable. Okay, so that means you just go for the variable, and now you are expecting a variable ABC as an input, then you have to declare the variable ABC as an input. Okay, so now how do you pass this particular, so the input type is okay, so over CLI, how do you provide the input? Okay, so here you're going to put it as like, let's say output. Now I'll just go with outputs only, output, and you're just going to print variable ABC, and basically var dot ABC. Or basically variable over input type, after Terraform apply, execution. After Terraform you apply, you the execution. So that means what I'm trying to tell you is so there is no classification, but I'm just trying to put my own way. So 03 now, so Terraform apply -auto -approve. Okay, so it's fully finished. So now you see this, what I'm trying to tell you is after you do the Terraform apply execute, then it will actually, after Terraform apply execution, then it will identify that, okay, so there is a empty variable declaration. I should ask for the input. So it gives that particular, it asks for that particular input. Okay, so that's where, that's how you give it. So now I'll just use, if I just say hello, you get the output as hello.
We haven't defined the data type for that ABC, right?
Come again.
So we haven't defined the data type for the ABC variable, right? Either
It's
it can
default.
be
Yeah, it's default. You give string, automatically takes quotes. Okay, it's smart, right? So that's where you just give 10. It takes it as, even it is taking as a string still. Yeah.
how can we for what about the integer then?
So integer, basically, if you want to enforce, yes, there are options around. Okay. So if you are expecting the input given is a number, then yeah, we have to do. Let's go to the documentation a bit more. Where is this docs, right? Language, variables, input variables, or overview. No. So not even this. Here. So type equal to string is expected. Type is string is expected. Type. String. type. Okay, type equal to number. You have to give that. Okay. So then you're expecting type is equal to a number. That's what you're telling. Okay. Let's see. All right. So okay, you don't need to quote. So now you give 100, it is giving without quotes, right? Now if you give something else, it actually throws you an error saying that you are expecting a data type is this one. So if you want to enforce also, you can do that. Yeah.
So either it can be a number, means it can be an integer or float, right?
Yeah. Number means it can be both. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, by default it will take a string. So I to define the specific character like integer or float, we need to specifically mention type as number.
No. It at least does not. It's not actually distinguish between them. Only number. That's it. You cannot do that. Yeah. All right. Cool. So yeah, you declared one variable type, so which is it is asking for the input and then you're giving the input. Okay, that's one way. And the second way is okay. So the second way is input type as a argument to the Terraform apply command. Argument to Terraform apply. So that means I'll just go for the variable and abc1, and I'll say output abc1 and var.abc1. Okay, abc1. Okay, so now -var abc1 is equal to, okay, abc1 equal to abc. Okay, so something like that. So you give something. Oh, sorry. So so now you see this, you're giving abc equal to abc and is coming as abc here. Okay, you pass it from the command line. So -var is the keyword. You have to use it in the command line, and you have to give your variable equal to your data, and actually that data is actually going to come here, and yeah, it's going to come here. So that's another thing. And so then another one is so input type from a file. Okay, input type from a file. So variable, and you have to go with abc2, and so here you declare the same thing. So now let's say output abc2, but it's going to be var.abc2. Okay, that's what you are doing. And now I am actually going to create one more file. So new file, I'll make it, and I'll just make like, so terraform.tfvars. Okay. So from a file, terraform.tfvars, from a file called as terraform.tfvars. Okay. ABC2. All right. And so here now I'm going to give ABC2 is equal to, let's say, hello ABC2, something like that. Okay. Now I'll just go and try to run this. The same code, I'll try to run it. So now you see this hello ABC2 come. So how this ABC2 is coming? So automatically there's a file called as terraform.tfvars, and so it automatically taking a look onto that particular file. Okay. So one second. Yeah. All right. And that's one. Okay, it automatically finding out that terraform.tfvars and is automatically picking that file. So that's what the Terraform documentation is also going to tell you. So if you look into the variable and the different places, so these are all different scenarios they're telling you. That's okay. And but end of the thing, it actually tells you this precedence basically. Yeah. So actually, this is how it is going to look basically. Okay. And another one, so Terraform TFVars I talked about. JSON we're not talking, that's okay. And if you have anything with auto.tfvars, it picks that file also. Okay, so that means I will just say that input from file, like let's say sample.auto.tfvars. Okay, any file of auto.tfvars. Okay, so sample.auto.tfvars. Okay, so now ABC3 is equal to hello ABC3. Okay, hello ABC3. And inputs, I'll just say that it is variable ABC3 and output ABC3 and var.abc3. And okay, so now what happens? Let's see. So you're getting ABC3. So how you are getting ABC3? Because if any file in the name of star.auto.tfvars, it just picks that particular file. Okay, that's what it's saying. And -var you already seen, and -var -file also you can give. If you have given like abc.tfvars, because terraform.tfvars is there, it is actually picking it up automatically. But let's say you have given like dev.tfvars, my prod.tfvars, like that you give, then you have to exclusively tell that. Okay, and one last thing I want to talk about here. So input from env variables, environment variables. Okay, shell environment variables, I would say. So now I'm going to give the shell command basically here. So here input from shell environment variables, and then it is going to be yeah, how do you do that is export tf_var_abc4 okay, is equal to, you will say hello abc4. Okay, so that's what you're going to tell. Okay, this is the command I'm going to run it on the command line. So I'll just run it on the command line. Now since you ran it on the command line, so now variable, it can pick it up. So there's a prefix called as tf underscore var, right? So that's where it can pick it up, abc4. Okay, so then output abc4 var.abc4. okay, so this is the idea. Now I'll just go and see, run this. Now you're getting abc4. So how are you getting abc4? Because of from the command line. Okay, so these are the different ways actually you can take the inputs from the inputs, not only by hard coding the value, so you can also take it from other sources. Okay, so these are the sources. And when you have different sources, what is the precedence? Precedence means priority, which is the highest priority. Okay, which is having the highest priority. So what Terraform is telling, that Terraform loads the variables in the following order, the later sources taking the precedence over the earlier ones. That means the least priority one you have is environment variable. So that means if I say that, so if I say that this, so again hyphen var abc4 is equal to, if I say that, so okay, so if I say abc4 is equal to by abc4, I mean actually the tf environment variable is hello abc4. The same abc4 I'm actually giving on the command line. So which actually takes the precedence? The by is taking the precedence. So that means the least priority variables here are having is environment variables. After that, Terraform tf vars. After that, tf vars JSON if you use it. And after that, auto tf vars. And after that, finally, the var, whichever you provide from the command line, is actually going to take the highest precedence, highest priority. Okay, which will override any of the other variable which is declared in any of these places. Okay, so that's the way how Terraform works with variables. So just on the, just to collect this on, so tell you on the glimpse. So any variable should be declared either it is empty or whether it is going to be collected from some other places. Doesn't really matter. Okay, or you hard code it or you declare it, so declare it, so from the different source, but empty variable has to be declared for sure. So that's the major pain in the Terraform. Later also you will see that, but that's how they actually provide you the option. Okay, and yeah, so this is how you have it. I think we're time up almost. Yeah, so that's all from my side for today. Yeah, any questions?
Oh, can we install the variable directly?
What is that? Sorry.
Can we initialize the variable directly in the coding only? First we are giving variable ABC type number, then output where output ABC value var.abc.
Mm-hmm.
At the time of declaring the variable only, variable ABC, then there only can we give the input to that.
Yeah, you already gave that, right? So that's what we have seen here, right? First time. So variable a default equal to 100. You're declaring the value here itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions, confusions? Okay, all right. So let's see in tomorrow's session then. Bye. Good day. Good night.